Hello, I'm Landis, and welcome back to Purrfect Date. Okay, time for some more extras. It looks like it's in 3 parts, like you got 2 here, like 1 which is 2 parts even, and another one here. So it looks like we're going to have 4 parts of the Sherlock. Let's go. I'm woken by the sound of music filling my tent. Music? What the? As I grab my torch and fill my tent with bright light, I see the bizarre spectacle of a cat in a cape and a deerstalker hat playing a violin. This is too weird even for this island. Be quiet, you're going to wake the whole camp. I'm afraid he can't stop until he's completed the entire coda. OCD, you know. Why is he playing in my tent in the middle of the night? It's what he does. Well, can't he do it somewhere else? It's what he does when he's near to working something out, on the edge of the precipice of enlightenment. God damn it, I'm beginning to sound like him. What does that have to do with me? It's your little mystery he's working on. At that moment, the music ends with a flourish, and I begin clapping instinctively. I stop, irritated with myself for encouraging him. Sherlock takes a little bow. I have it. You have what? Come, come, close, choose, outside. And he's gone. You'd best get dressed and meet us outside. I do as I'm told, cursing myself for going along with this nonsense. It's the middle of the night and I have work tomorrow. When we reconvene out in the cold of the night, Sherlock is pacing up and down, flinging his little cat arms around as though he's conducting an orchestra. I lean in closer to Watson and whisper so that only he can hear. What's he doing now? He whispers back. Helps him think. Can we get on with it, please? Follow. He struts off towards the back of the labs. We come to a halt at the incinerator pits. Regard, if you will, the small white particles of grit at the epicenter of incineration, resistant to total cremation, the remains of teeth, possibly. Before we can comment, he's striding off again. Bear with him, it's usually worth it. I traipse behind him until we stop again. This time we're outside Professor Pulper's tent. We will need to be stealthy. What I want you to see lies within. You can't go into the Professor's tent, he's sleeping. My powers of stealth are beyond what is the expected range of a normal feline, or any animal for that matter. I have trained to the highest level in the art of karate for many years. I studied under... Oh, just get on with it. But if he wakes up, you're going to carry the can. Do you understand? My dear child, I understand the greatest problems posed to humankind's greatest thinkers. I doubt I shall be taxed by a nincompoop of your caliber. Now, Holmes, be nice. And be quick, I might add. The client's teeth are chattering. Actually, stop. I'm taken aback by my own forcefulness, and even the great Holmes stops in his tracks. I want you to come back to my tent right now and explain whatever it is that you think you know. No more of this theoretical showing off. Just tell me like a normal person. Yeah, cats! As you wish, but it won't be nearly so. It's my turn to stride off and leave him mid-sentence. We're settled back in the warm, and Sherlock has reinflated his ego. I have a theory, and until it's proven, that's all it is. A theory about what this island is for, the secret it keeps. Or secrets, if my deductions prove true. I'm very tired. Could you please just tell me your theory so we can all go back to bed? I'm still working on the individual components of the larger picture. However, for this evening, and to whet your appetite, I shall disclose and leave you with this. There are deviants that walk this earth under the guise of normality, whose aberrations, if exposed, would shock you to your core. Okay? I intend to prove that this very island is home to one whose practices are not only unlawful, but also unthinkable. When are you going to actually tell me anything, Sherlock? Yes, Holmes. Come now, we need to get along. I refuse to be rushed and bullied in this vulgar way. I just want you to say something of significance. That makes sense. Human sacrifice. Well, that shuts us up. I'll wait for him to continue, but of course he strings it out as long as possible for dramatic effect. The offering of human babies in sacrifice is an ancient practice. Demand for virgin blood by the dark gods is widely recognized as... Sorry to interrupt you in full flow, but are you saying that there's a sacrificial rituals going on here right under my nose that I haven't noticed? Why would you not noticing what's right under your nose be noteworthy? May I remind you that I needed to point out to the human teeth in the incinerator, a place you inspect daily. Exactly, Holmes. I tend to those pits as part of my daily routine, so I know them inside and out. What you're referring to as teeth are actually the small pebbles that cling to the roots of the plant samples we burn after testing. Pebbles don't burn. In fact, they collect and alter the temperature of the incinerators, so I have to clear them out twice a week. Sherlock is uncharacteristically quiet. Watson looks deeply embarrassed. No, unless you have any other ridiculous notions you'd like to share with the group, I suggest we all say night-night. Good night! You have no idea the danger your ignorance places you in. I shall not be deterred by your lack of cooperation, but shall return shortly with irrefutable evidence. Good evening. I'll call for you if I need you. I'm sorry for everything really. We'll wait to hear from you again. Adieu. Well, possibly the sacrifice thing's not that far off, because they are turning people into cats and then shooting them. Because they are assholes. Yay! Extra unlocks. But so far, I'm not sure we've actually learned anything from doing this. And it looks like we're running out of Sherlocks. Onwards! I'm coming to the end of my field work for today. It's been a long morning that has taken me close to the opposite end of the island. I don't often get out this far, so I decided to take a break here and eat my lunch. The music changed. I'm just relaxing with my tuna wrap and apple juice, when the peace and quiet is disrupted by the familiar sound of a violin. Sherlock, is that you? Watson pokes his head out from behind the rock I'm leaning against. You're quite far from home today. Aren't you nervous being so close to the enemy? Oh, really, Watson? I thought better of you. You sound like you've been spending time with Fluffybutt. The original Elder Cats are not the enemy. No? Are they your friends? Well, no, not exactly, but that's only because they're understandably suspicious of why we're here on their island. Your first error, my dear child. He stopped playing his violin and has deigned to join us. Hello, Holmes. By what evidence do you decide that this is their island? They were here first. And you know that how? Quite. You jumped to the erroneous conclusions based on an assumption and zero factual verification. I'm not in the mood for him today. Either make him wind his neck in, or I may have to muzzle him. Try to be patient. He means well, he's just not very socialized. Okay, come on then, Sherlock, let's hear it. What do you have for me? I've devoted myself to the task of unraveling your problem, and I believe I am on the point of a denouement. Pretty sure that's not a word, and if it is, I said it wrong. Plain English, please. He's about to reveal all. What an extraordinarily fitting backdrop for the staging of this revelation. You see over there, the shadow cast against the rocks. He's pointing in the direction of the Elder's territory. I screw up my eyes against the glare of the sun and look at the wall of grey rock in the distance. He's right. I can make out the shadow of the giant cat statue that sits in the middle of the danger zone. So, it's always been there. You're hardly disclosing any groundbreaking developments. Au contraire, my dear. It cannot always have been there. Someone must have put it there. Well, yes. But long before any of us arrived, believe me, No one would like to understand how it got there and what it signifies more than me. But unless we find a way to communicate with the elders, it's going to remain a mystery. And that is my stock in trade. Go on then, tell all. I continue with my lunch. It's very simple, actually. The statue of Bastet, your goddess, was erected by your leader, or rather, by his minions, under his direction. Let's stop eating. What? By who? Watson, help out here before we lose patience. I think what my learned friend is trying to tell you is that you are in a cult, and Professor Pawpaw is the charismatic leader. There's a moment of silence, when nobody moves, until it's broken by my sudden burst of laughter. A cult? Not just a cult, but to be precise, the cult of Bastet, feline goddess of Egypt. Finding it hard to breathe for laughter. And who's in this cult and why? All of you, of course. Each seeking out a place to belong. Each running away from something. Such as? Take a look, if you will, at the containers you have been filling all morning. Plant samples, yeah? And you'll be taking these plant samples to the marigolds. Look, you obviously know all this already, so shall we cut to the chase and you tell me what you think you know about Mr. and Mrs. Marigold? Clearly, I will have to spell it out to you. It is my belief that they have to seek protection and concealment on this island from both the authorities and rival drug barons. I look over at Watson for some sign of sanity, but he has buried his head in his paws and obviously thinks the same as me. The Marigolds are what? Drug dealers? They are in the business of the manufacture and distribution of illegal mind-altering substances. Or at least they were, until something drove them out of business and forced them to begin again here. The Professor has taken them in, and now put them to work for him, in exchange for his silence. How did you ever come up with this in the first place? Exactly, my dear. Just look at the evidence in front of you. They are cultivating a herb garden under your nose. The Professor has you believing whatever he chooses. Right, I've had enough of you and your crackpot ideas. Take your little violin and go fiddle elsewhere, Sherlock, before I can tell you're in no mood to open your mind, and take seriously the proposal I put forward, and I shall take my leave of you. But in my absence, ponder this. When you engage in the trance-inducing maneuvers your leader trained you in daily, can you be sure he is not gaining control of your mind, body, and spirit? Oh my god. Yoga! He's teaching us yoga! He's already gone and I'm shouting to an empty space. I can only apologize. And ask that you don't think too harshly of him. How do you do it, Watson? How do you put up with him? I suppose I care for him rather deeply. Good day. I feel a little ashamed for not caring a bit more than I do. Yeah, this does seem to be a little not helping, and it's just like bonus giggles. But bonus giggles are good. And it looks like we may be about to hit the last one. Let's see. Ooh. No. Yeah, boat. No. I've been helping with deliveries this morning, and there are only 3 boxes left, which I'm attempting to carry in one run, so that the final box is perched precariously on top of the other 2. Bob recommends I only take 2 at a time, but I want to get on with other things. I'm inching my way blindly along the jetty path, regretting my impatience, when suddenly something flies out of nowhere, and all 3 boxes go scattering in front of me, tripping me up into the bargain. What the? Are you bowing before me? I know who that infuriating voice belongs to, before I look up. Sherlock, what are you doing? You scared me half to death. Allow me to help you up. We are most terribly sorry. Thank you. I'm sure you are, Watson. But I find it hard to believe he understands what sorry feels like. Sorry is a word, my dear. You cannot feel a word. He's about to launch into one of his rhetoric marathons, so I interrupt him before it's too late. He's like a juggernaut, very difficult to stop once it's at full speed. Never mind all that. Why are you here? I didn't call for you.
Exactly. You didn't call, so I needed to come unannounced. I have news. A breakthrough.
Really?
I have been ruminating. The picture is becoming clearer. More of the dots are joining. This great jigsaw that is overwhelming you has just found another piece. If I'm not mistaken, it's a corner piece.
He's so frustrating. Are you saying you found something out?
Well, indeed.
I'm not so sure.
Something highly significant has come to me.
No. Don't get your hopes up.
In a dream.
Ugh. Yes, afraid so.
The greatest thinkers of all time have relied upon the hallucinatory guidance of dreaming, not the dreams of the sleeper, shut down and flabby. No, the dreams I speak of are self-induced, insightful from a trance, the opening of the subconscious mind while the frontal lobe is distracted.
Hypnotism.
Sorry?
He's talking about self-induced hypnosis. He practices it a lot. It looks a lot like sleeping.
So you may as well tell me, now that you've caused such mayhem.
I look around and see that one of the boxes has burst open when it hit the ground, and the contents are scattered around us. I begin to gather them up, when Sherlock snatches one out of my hands.
The very proof. This, Watson. This is what I am talking about.
Tins of tuna. What about them? I've tried to tell him.
To you, these may be innocent tins of tuna, but to me, they represent the corruption and deceit that is at the very heart of this godforsaken island, and the cult that inhabits it. This again?
He thinks he's worked it all out.
And so I have, if you will all stop jabbering for one moment and allow me to speak.
Watson and I exchange a look of exasperation and allow Sherlock to take centre stage.
This,
he holds up a tin of tuna again,
is no ordinary can of fish. It's more like a can of worms. The most cursory of investigation uncovers that what we have here is the contraband of these two latter-day pirates who plunder the water of the wilder ocean and peddle their ill-gotten gains to the unsuspecting merchants on the mainland.
I lean in close to Watson, so that Sherlock doesn't overhear me. Joe and Bob? Yes. Pirates? Would seem so.
Their unscrupulous fishing methods have drawn the attention of the world-renowned vigilante environmentalist army, Libelfert, who have hounded them across the salty battlefields and forced them to retreat into hiding here, within your very cult.
He's gone mental, hasn't he? I fear so.
Here, amidst the drug peddlers and the cross-dressers, under the protective...
Whoa, hold it there, Sherlock. Say that last bit again.
In spite of your mullish refusal to accept the truth, the caretakers and the security guard...
Zane?
The very same.
Cross-dressing? Watson emits a small groan and bows his head.
How else would you explain the bottles of nail varnish, the perfumed skin creams, the nylon stockings, size XXL, all flung indiscriminately around the camp with the abandon of a cheap burlesque? Let me stop you right there for a moment, you utter numpty.
Now steady. Not that it would matter one jot if anyone chose to cross-dress, or that it would be any of your business, but just for the sake of accuracy, allow me to educate you. The nail varnishes belong to the previous research assistant. The stockings are used in the hope of catching small airborne life forms that might help our research. And for the creams, that is a mystery that I've been investigating and researching since my arrival on this island. A mystery that you, O great detective, have been no help with whatsoever. Now. Notice, if you will, the word research was used several times in my statement. That's because I'm a scientist, and in science, we do not present a prognosis unless we have done the research to uncover significant evidence to lend our findings and credibility. There are no facts underpinning your theories, Mr. Holmes, and that reduces them to the level of balderdash.
I see the way it is. The truth can be hard to swallow, and with hurt pride as an accompaniment, it may be altogether unpalatable. Perhaps, Watson, if we be kind to leave our client to digest these revelations in private. That's possibly the most insightful idea you've had so far. When you see how wrong you have been, and how right I am, you will be grateful that I have spared your public humiliation. Watson has got to his feet and is tugging on Sherlock's coat sleeve. Indeed, my friend. Let's go and eat some of that excellent tuna for lunch, and you can explain to me how you managed to solve this ticklish conundrum so brilliantly. I stand with my mouth open, watching them leave, not quite believing what I'm hearing, but Watson turns back to me and winks. It's a small gesture, but it makes everything fall into place. Of course, Watson knows it's nonsense, but he allows Sherlock to believe he's right simply because he loves his friend and accepts him for who he is. No embarrassment. I feel touched as I bend down to pick up the remaining tins of fish. We could all do with a bit of that in our lives. Okay, so that didn't help. But it was feel good and it was funny. So yay! What we have learned today is it's nice to have a friend that puts up with our shit, even if our shit is always wrong. Right? If you enjoyed this episode, then tickle the like button, perhaps subscribe, and check out the rest of the channel. And why not join us on their Facebook, Twitter, Discord, and Patreon? Links are in the description and running through the credits right now. I've been Landis. This has been Purrfect Date. Thank you very much, and see you soon.